today I want to share my journey so far, into this agentic world, and in me basically starting off learning the ropes and trying to develop MCP server myself. So yeah, let's take a look. I'm just excited to share all the steps that I had until this point, where I have a working MCP server. We can take a look under the hood and the working of that as well. Okay. So the agenda for today, let's kind of go over the basics of MCP server itself. It's all these topics are basically I can say that it's kind of like a moving landscape, and every day there are new things coming into this agentic zone. But then whatever it is today, we can understand that. Then I can demo the solution what I've developed. I kind of have a cool name to it. I'm calling it Content Bridge AI. So it's basically a bridge between the agentic clients and our well-known Sitecore Content Hub server. So then we'll look in general, like now from where I stand today with this demo server. If I want to make it as an enterprise level profession, I mean kind of a professional enterprise server, what are the steps that are pending? And I can take some questions on the lines. Okay, so what is MCP, right? So MCP is the protocol, which is called Model Context Protocol. And this is a standardized protocol initially started by Anthropic, and now it's a standard protocol. So basically, the idea is to seamlessly, enable all the chat interfaces on one side, like you can see in that. I took that architecture from the MCP site itself. So we have all the chat interfaces. It could be our LLM models, the Cloud Desktop, or then they could be our well-known Visual Studio, GitHub Pilot as well, or it could be Microsoft Foundry, you name it. So these interfaces, we want them to basically, make use of any legacy APIs, any kind of productivity tools, or basically any kind of a data or a file system on the other end. So this protocol helps us to build servers which kind of expose a neat set of tools. Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. So basically, this is a very secured way of consuming the data or the content, or that is available in legacy systems, in any system on the other end, which is not agentic enabled. So basically a wrapper making it agentic enabled, so that we can consume that and use natural language processing or natural language commands to basically consume the content. So MCP enables us to do that. I mean, it's not another API. It's kind of a like very commonly basically. I mean, commonly it is misunderstood. Is it like another API layer, and how different it is from API? It's not an API layer, so it is basically something different. So, and how different? Yeah, we'll see. So, and it's basically a protocol, and it also standardizes. So essentially, I mean, we will see the differences in the next slide here. Yeah, not this slide. Okay. So MCP server contains of 3 core features. One, it exposes a set of tools which the agentic LLMs can consume. It typically operates on resources. In this case, I mean, we will look at how it's kind of making use of the resource of Sitecore Content Hub in the demo that we're going to see today. And we need to kind of give it a crisp prompt as to what exactly it needs to do. So instructions in the form of prompts. We have the resources to consume, and what it does is it exposes a set of tools for the LLMs. This is so here I kind of tried to this infograph basically shows the differences between what is an MCP architecture and how different it is from our well-known traditional API architecture. So API, as we all know, nothing new to us. It is basically a contract between code and a system. So one system to the other. API is basically exposed as a set of endpoint contract, and whereas MCP, on the other hand, is not another API, and it is basically the protocol that standardizes. So basically, it exposes a set of tools from the MCP host. MCP host could be any hosting platform. It could be infrastructure as a service platform, or it could be an Azure platform. So basically, this server is hosted from a platform. It exposes a set of tools, and then on the other hand, you can see that it in turn can consume from other web APIs, databases, file systems. It's up to the developer to basically enable these services, on the other hand, to be available to the consumers, in this case the LLMs. API, we know that it is basically a wrapper on a layer of services, and the services again can can provide. So API essentially provides an endpoint to access those services. Okay. So here are the this is basically the whole the details of which. So MCP is basically how an AI model talks to tools, and security is of utmost relevance over here. Similarly, very similar to how we are used to building APIs following the OWASP security definitions. So again, the core traits of API are basically tools are they're described in a model-friendly manner. So basically, we define the tools, saying that what exactly this MCP is capable of offering. So, and over here, so the LLM agent can basically discover the query the MCP server, understand what tools it is exposing, their schemas, and then it can use the tools, and then that's up to the agent. So MCP server itself is not agentic, but it can enable the agentic systems to consume content data, like we have seen in the previous slide. And the big difference, in the last, you can see that, basically MCP basically answers, how does it enables the agent to discover and use the tools, whereas APIs, as we are used to, basically we use, the API's answer is always, how do I call a particular service? So endpoints. So endpoints and a definite set of methods, and we are used to that. So this is something new for us. When are they not relevant? When basically all the use cases where MCP servers, there are several use cases which are very nicely serviced by MCP servers, but particularly in these cases, it is wise not to use MCP servers because they're not meant for that. We have other alternatives in the agentic world to be to be used basically. So when you need to learn from the data, so that's when MCP servers, because they don't have the capability or the ability to train models or store embeddings, and so there are the other alternatives would be like vector databases, and Azure AI search can be used for that. Similarly, where there is RAG use cases, as in you are really you need to basically, one example would be chatbot basically has to understand from thousands of documents and build intelligence on the fly. That cannot be done by an MCP server. And similarly, for orchestrating agents, like you are interacting with multiple, it's a multi-step agentic process, and essentially we can understand that each step or each step of the orchestration the LLM may be interacting with multiple MCP servers, but each server is definite. I mean, it should be pretty, like it should be pretty to the point, and it should be very, basically follow the, our good, like separation of concerns, and we got to follow those best practices, wherein we don't want the MCP server to do like too many things, connect to like many API endpoints, and so it would be the best practice would be to create one server for each unique offering, rather than combining too many things into one. So that's so there are some certain these scenarios, and where it is not advisable to use MCP server concept. We have other alternatives for that, and it is typically right to use MCP, wherein you need like you have like many AI clients. Say for instance, you have your GitHub Copilot, you have a Plot desktop, or you want a Microsoft Foundry, agentic solutions, agents available on Microsoft Foundry. All of them want to uniformly have a uniform way, a standardized way of accessing, say in this particular demo, what we are going to see today, all of them need to consume data from Sitecore Content Hub. On the other hand, then this would be a good example of using MCP over here, because we need a standardized way. All of them, I mean, because right now Sitecore Content Hub does not have an MCP server available, like we have the other marketing MCP server available from Sitecore, and eventually they may have come up, but before that, this might be a solution wherein we have all these agents, agentic solutions. They want to consume from one particular, in this case, a data provider or a content provider. Then this would be a typical use case. Okay, at this point, I want to stop this share and show you. Okay, let me do this. I have lost track of my. Got it. Okay. I believe you all can still see my screen. So let us go to, I'm going to show you two clients accessing the same Sitecore Content Hub for querying. So first, let's look at Microsoft Foundry. So here, it's a bit tiny, but yeah. So we spoke about three things, right? Like prompt, resources, and the what did I say? Prompt, resources, and the tools. So over here, you can see that I have a prompt here. So basically, I'm telling this particular agent that it is a expert Sitecore Content Hub assistant that helps users search, browse, and retrieve content from Sitecore Content Hub. Here, I've given it basically a very detailed prompt, which says what are the capabilities, and what it can do, querying products, etc., etc. So as a tool, I have configured my MCP server, which is Content Bridge AI. I have hosted that on Azure right now. So here's where it is. It's a web app on Azure. And what it does is this. So this is a specification where I have told the tool all the tools that it is capable of doing. So in each of all the tools are listed out over here. So basically, search content, it can do some enhanced search with facets and stuff. It can get an asset details. It can list all the collections, get the metadata, query products, etc. So there we've got I've created 7 tools over here. The rest of the specification tells this configuration, as in the agent, that what are the inputs, what are the outputs to expect from each tool, and then we just leave it at that. And then the LLM, in this case, GPT 4.1 is intelligent enough to basically decide which tool to use. Some of which it gathers from the prompt itself, because I've clearly told it, in case for each of the use cases or whatever it is trying to do, what each of my tools are capable. I mean, the MCP servers tools are capable of doing. So it can decide based on that. What else? I'm not going to go into the details of creating an agent itself. That's possibly another discussion. But for today, let's understand that. So this is an agent, which is basically making connect and using the MCP server to query Sitecore content. I can use a natural language command over here, like we are all used to now. I can say find. Let me just refresh this, just in case it's kind of idled out by now. Okay. So at this point, I'll just say find. So most of us who have done the basic training on Sitecore Content Hub, we know these brands, right? Like fruitful, powerful kind of thing. We just following the Sitecore's training material. So I do have some of those collections in my Content Hub. See, I'm not saying what fruitful is. I'm not saying, but I'm just used a very plain English or a conversational prompt over here, and it went and it got me these things. I'm a bit, not too happy because it's not really showing me the images. Maybe I can just say, I'm saying show me the images. So I'm talking, basically to Content Hub, and there we go. So it just randomly, I know they don't make sense because, but this is how my Content Hub is pretty, like that's how we are set up right now, wherein, all of these assets are belonging to the brand Fruitful. So that's why you see all of them come by like this. I can say, get me details of, I'll just give a number. I won't say what it is. I'll just say that. Let's see what it is. So since this is a sandbox demo thing, I haven't really, done a lot with memory or caching or any amount of optimization. It doesn't even have security at this point of time. Security in the sense like I haven't set up authentication to my MCP server. But for a production level thing, it's why obviously we'll have to do all of that. So yeah, see, we got the details of the asset, and then I can say, so I'm just using randomly some tools over here. Maybe let's do a product query. I'm just saying top five products, which are what top five, I'm not saying anything, but it basically went ahead and got me some products. Hope it doesn't give up at this point. Let's see. Okay, while it does that, let's, okay, there. So it got me details of that. Well, just to prove the point, I'm going to click and log into my Content Hub. Yeah, so this is basically the entire details as a JSON for that particular asset. All right. Let's see the same interface. We can basically consume from a different client. So in this case, I'll do the same kind of query from my GitHub Copilot client. I'll say, so over here again, a different kind of configuration. You can see I have an mcp.json wherein I have configured two MCP servers. One is the Sitecore Marketeer one provided by Sitecore. And over here, I have configured the Content Bridge AI, the one that's hosted on that's the MCP server, which I have developed for Content Hub. So I give the URL and then I say what it is, what it does. So using this, so this is very local to my workspace. I can, so whereas Sitecore is not, I mean, it's hosted on Edge. And this is hosted on Azure at this point. So I can do the same kind of query. This time I will say, very, very vague. I'm saying find me products like bicycles. Right now I'm using Claude Sonnet, so it has the habit of, kind of saying what it is going to do. And it's saying that it's going to use Content Bridge. It's going to use the query products tool of Content Bridge AI, the MCP server. Let's see what it comes back with. So it's saying that it got like 20 products. Sorry, it's like really small. You can't read that, but yeah, it's saying it got like 20 products, but since the search query was for bicycles, the results include various products like a cycling group and things like that. Let's do the same thing from here. And we wait. Yeah, like I said, I haven't optimized this at all. So it is only as good as I have, developed each of these, tools in the backend. That is the MCP server. So yeah, they're not cached, they're not optimized. So basically that's why there could be, significant lag in getting the thing. Yeah. It basically, yeah, it's a bad, so it's clearly, it just showed me some junk. I mean, totally irrelevant information, but it also said that there are no explicit bicycle products found, and they're saying that it's related to bicycle. How, we don't know, but yeah, this is what we have. So yeah, like I said, it's only as good as the efficiency of the MCP server at this point, but you get the idea. I mean, this can prove pretty useful for us to enable multiple clients, agentic clients, to consume common. So basically, the common API endpoint, in this case, the Content Hub server. Okay, that's what I've got as part of the demo. We can go back to the presentation and let's see where we were.
Hey, Rashmi, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you mind walking through the code base for that web app if it is available?
Oh yeah, sure.
At least people might be interested in seeing
The
what's
MCP
behind the
server
scenes.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. So again, can somebody help me to make this a little zoomed out? I'm going to do that anyway. So this is my workspace, the agentic AI. So again, there are a lot of best practices out there. I haven't really gone into the details of how exactly to, what is a good way to organize an agentic workspace. But what I've done over here is typical. I have
I
yeah.
believe you can do a control plus equal to control plus plus to increase the font.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Better?
Yep, much better. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, like I said, so here what I've so this is standard. So in case you want to configure MCP servers, in this case, yeah, the requirements for this, we need to have a GitHub Copilot paid license, and which should enable us to add MCP servers to the workspace. So in this case, so I do have a license of such nature, and then that's why I can add I have added both these MCP servers to our to my workspace. Again, clients. So I've gone through the I've gone through the process of basically I was learning as I did this, right? Like so initially before I actually experimented with this with real clients, I started off with the Copilot extension itself. So I have a Visual Studio extension like this, Content Hub, and then just to test the theory, whether it's doing the protocol work. So I do have like search, and then I can search for find. Yeah, it's doing the job. So that's how. So I have that's my client, basically the Visual Studio Copilot extension. I don't have much over here in the servers. I do have. So the main crux of the whole thing is here. So basically in the servers, the enhance. This is my code to basically do the interface to Sitecore Content Hub, and in here I have all the tools, basically what endpoint of Content Hub API to use. Most of them are using API search. Then I do use API entities as well. So those are the endpoints on the Sitecore Content Hub side. We start with let me start with the tools. So the MCP itself, the code for the MCP is tools. So here I've got all the tools, the endpoint for each of the tools. So there's a search content tool, then the get asset, list collections, etc., etc. So all the 7 tools are over here. The ones that we saw are the same ones that got configured on the both the clients. So the middleware for this, again, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff over here. That is because this is it's basically organically grown to this point where it is demo worthy today. So what I did, so I kind of experimented with different routes. So I did the API route just to make sure that my Content Hub side is working. So just because I wanted a way to basically use just plain API to hit the MCP server. So I do have that. Then, but this is the one that's used by the LLMs. So we will see this in the presentation. I'll cover in the rest of the presentation. So basically, what is the whole architecture and how all of this came together. But yeah, so these are the MCP things, endpoints. So there is this is a server events one, server sent events, and then there's a regular API as well. Yeah, the tools call. We saw the services, right? Yeah, utilities. Yeah, nothing great. I just got a logger at this point, just to debug through for my local work. That's basically it. So the main implementation part is the tools itself, and some services to provide the data and the interface. So in this case, the MCP interface. Okay. All right. So let's start from here. So the solution itself, what we did here was, so in traditional, the problem, the invented problem here is traditional Content Hub access is, it's a REST API. One needs to understand the complete API, specification in order to consume it and make it available for any clients. In this case, we want to use LLM clients to consume the Content Hub API. So that's why this particular MCP server basically bridges the gap, which is not existing today. We don't have an MCP server which gives us Content Hub content. So this particular MCP server is bridging that gap. So wherein it enables us to do, like we saw in the demo, use plain English, conversational language, and query content from Content Hub. It is supposed to, when it is enterprise grade, we need authentication, authorization, different levels of security. We need to follow industry standards. I will go over all of those. So so this MCP server itself, the Content Bridge AI solution is not an agent itself, but it basically enables agents. And right now it is merely doing the job of translating the protocol between Content Hub API and MCP. It does have, right now I don't have any of these things implemented, but it is meant to have all of the security layer, as well as it does multiple AI support. Like we saw, it supports OpenAI, Zero OpenAI, which we saw in the Foundry client, and then we have support for GitHub Copilot as well. This is the high-level architecture. We have external AI clients, like we have seen a couple of them today, and then we have the MCP server itself, which is nothing but a Node.js implementation. It is exposing 3 different ways of accessing, 3 different ways. We don't need 3 different ways, but basically SSC is the standard way, standard protocol, JSON RPC to do the to access the tools, which most clients, AI clients, are capable of. They mostly do SSC. Like in these 2, like we have seen the Foundry, and then I don't have Claude client with me, but yeah, if I were to, I don't have a paid Claude, so that's why I can't show you that. I could have easily dropped this MCP server as a tool in Claude, and it would have basically accessed the MCP / the SSC endpoint, that route to do the communication to Content Hub. In case of the Visual Studio extension, that one needs some extra work. It needs a client of its own because it can't understand, it can't do JSON RPC. So these are some kind of tricky things which I've experienced, wherein even it can give slightly different results, although it is the same endpoint, but different clients can basically interpret it differently. So that's so we need to there's some amount of work there to make sure that especially typically I feel in my experience so far, I feel it's not all that different in the way we have done our API services. So there is some work involved over here as well to make sure that we get the same results irrespective of whatever client you're using. Although it is but it does more or less works pretty seamlessly for different clients. It's not like a lot of work, but there is some work. And in the and then the the data layer, of course, is the Sitecore Content Hub in this demos architecture. I really spoke a lot, so I think I can take some questions at this point before kind of bombarding you with a lot of more details on this.
Hey Rashmi, Yogesh here. I never worked on MCP server, so I may ask like some silly questions. When you said like when we need standardized answer because we are using multiple clients, then better we use MCP server. What does that mean? I mean to say, can I still Content Hub using my prompts without using MCP Server, or that's not the way?
So yeah, not a silly question. It's pretty much on. Yes, we cannot today. We don't have a way of consuming Content Hub content from LLMs. So because LLM, I mean, the way to do that would be I mean, the way, at least that's what I understand, that agents basically need tools, and those tools they can I mean, one of the way of doing the tools is this. So like we develop this MCP endpoints or MCP server, so that we can consume. In this case, I mean, legacy will be like very harsh to say, but basically, non-agentic systems like Sitecore Content Hub at this point can only be consumed by creating an interface like using the MCP protocol. So that's why this. So yeah, to your point, agents cannot directly access a Sitecore Content Hub today.
Got it. Yep. And is there any MCP server available from Sitecore itself?
They have done the marketeer one. So we have there's an MCP server called Sitecore Marketeer MCP server, which is capable of. I'm not sure if you've seen the demos. Most of the demos, what Chirag. Yeah, right. Yeah. So he shows, right, like wherein he's. So basically, they are capable of item query. We can create items. Look at. I'm not entirely sure all the tools that are available from the Sitecore Marketeer one, but yeah, there's one I'm aware of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CMS one, like, but I the question was related to Content Hub in case like
I haven't seen it yet. So yeah, I mean, yeah, but I haven't seen any Content Hub MCP server developed yet. But yeah, I'm sure, like everybody's onto it. So we if not, then if I kind of make this production ready, then yeah, this could be the one. But right now, I just have search capability on this. Yeah, it could be. I mean, we need a lot, right? Like, what if I want to create content from whatever LLM clients or agents I have. So there are a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, this is really good work, impressive work, Rasmi. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, so this particular thing, yeah, I've spoken, I've shown you this already. So we have tools, resources, and prompts. In this case, the tools, the same slide what we saw before, but in the context of the content-rich AI solution. The tools would be all the 7 tools, searching content, enhanced search, etc. And then we have the resources. In this case, is the Sitecore Content Hub API layer itself. And prompts would be these are the user prompts, not the system prompt, what I have configured on the agent. But the user prompts would be, top 5 new products, get more details on the asset, and some of these. Same thing, all the 7 tools. We saw the demo, and this is what we saw. So basically, use cases. A couple of use cases. What I just put here, for example, would be, marketing team. They don't want. I mean, obviously, they can either use the Content Hub user interface if they're kind of proficient at doing that, or this is a more cleaner way or a more intuitive way, right? Like they want to learn. Find about certain specific assets without really learning the Content Hub API. So this would be a way to do that. Similarly, once this is, I mean, specifically we want to query products, new products, products related to a collection. So this would be a way to do that. Data flow. So what happens, right? Like all the steps. So basically, so when the user queries, the step number 2 is the AI part, the LLM itself acting on it. understands, and then it is up to the how clever the LLM is. It can decide, it can select the tool from the 7 that we have given and the prompt that we have given. And it, in this case, when we are saying find me marketing videos for a certain product, then it knows that, okay, fine, I'm going to, it knows that it has to, it's going to, since we are using, in this case, let's see, this is a flow for, like I showed you in the architecture, right? Like different protocol, different communication means over there. So JSON RPC is the most widely used one amongst most agents. In my experience, 2 of them use that, but then the Visual Studio extension couldn't do that. So that's why extra layer over there. But yeah, so if it is JSON RPC, then basically it is going to send post to my endpoint of the message. These are the extra steps that are really needed. Authentication, rate limiting, so that we don't run out of tokens or we use too many tokens. And there needs to be some optimization built into the MCP server itself, caching, and so that you don't go bankrupt using up all the tokens for your for just one single query. So that's something that needs to be efficiently built in. It executes the tool. In this case, it chose to use search content for finding those videos. And that in turn, so MCP server, step number 6, MCP server basically queried Sitecore Content Hub API. That's a simple API call. And it gave whatever result came back that got formatted. GPT-4 formatted it back in a conversational way and gave back the results on the client. So this is the journey of that request just falling through. Right now it wasn't cached. That's why you saw that it was a significant time it took to get back the results in most queries. But if it is cached, then or if it is optimized, then we can get better results. Yeah, so it's as good as the MCP server. Okay, so do we have time? I don't know how I'm doing with that. Okay, I'll just quickly go through this. I'll also give have you the copy of this presentation, so that there's a lot of content I put together that might be helpful. Yeah, like I said, want to make it production ready, then there are a lot of things to be done. One, it has to be high available MCP server, pretty efficient, health checks and failover mechanisms, etc. It needs to be, if it is really critical, then we need disaster recovery as well. It needs to have a streamlined DevOps pipeline. So these are just some of the things that can make it production ready, the one that we have today. Again, the basic things, we've seen this during the symposium as well. So all the agentic stuff is all cool, but security and availability are the prime things over there. So, you've got to have a minimum, security level maintained on anything that we build and host for agentic consumption. So, yeah, some of these things. Again, protocols, like I said, it's little tricky. I had some pain point working with, I wasn't really seeing the same things that I see on a GitHub Copilot versus Foundry. So it just to kind of bring it down to, because it ultimately, then I had to kind of started with REST and then in different protocols. But basically what needs to be implemented is the JSON RPC 2.0 because most clients understand that. And again, yeah, so that has a specification. It's there in the references towards the end of this deck. And then we have, so basically these are the kind of niche things that we have to have in MCP servers. Multi-client support. Otherwise, if it is just like supporting one or the other, then that's really no good. We cannot put it on a marketplace kind of a scenario if it is not supporting at least the popular LLMs or clients. Clients in the sense agentic clients. Security best practices, all of these are certainly required. The basic ones. and some optimization. So we got to have, basically consumption models for the MCP server where your hosting is important. So best practice would be to go for serverless options, build in, caching for most of the and then, have auto scaling, more than, and these are some of the basics that we might need to make it optimize so that we don't kind of consume all the tokens or what we have as part of the plan. Some resources, documentation, what I have studied through this process. Yeah, now we can really take some more questions. I think we're good. We have, about 10 minutes left.
Thank you, Rashmi. Any questions? Yeah, that's a pretty good start for a quick demo.
Thank you.
Well, I do have one question. So I'm interested in understanding how the LLM was interacting with your MCP server. So, for example, did you serve, for example, multiple queries? So starting from just one single query you typed, no? Did the agentic or the LLM did send multiple queries to your MCP server, or it was always trying to send one query, one request to get one result?
Okay. I think I can just show you how that works, because there are some cool logs available.
Rashmi, also you were showing in the VS Code, right?
Yes.
Typically, it shows what it's going to plan, Stefano. So I'm going to do this, and you might ask, like, how would it know? The MCP server tools, whatever Rashmi defined in the JSON, it knows that I can do a search, I can do a listing, can do all those things. So LLM would convert your query into, I should be doing do a search first, and then I should be used listing API. Then I will be using individual item API to pull the content.
Yeah. So let's see ideally, based on the prompt that we have given. So let's see one of the traces. So this is the whole trace of what exactly happened in the backend. I don't know if you're able to see this clearly, but yes. So like, for instance, my query, I asked, like, find me products like a bicycle. And then this was what came back. So if you look at the metadata, so we can get an idea about what exactly happened there. So something, and then that's the output. Okay, this is not pretty clear. Let me see for a different call. So it's just giving input output at this point. Maybe I'll find something which is kind of a failed one. Yeah, let's see the failed one. Then you'll know, like, it tried to do something. Yeah, so it does a RPC call, got the response. So over here, you can see that, I tried to query products. So it decided to use the query products tool, and then it gave some products. In this, while I was doing this, basically there was some mismatch between, the asset ID, and it was expecting an actual ID as a string, but I was giving it as a number, and it didn't like that. So that was what was failing, but that was a server error. So once that was fixed, so that's why you saw it working now. But yeah, it decides. So the LLM decides which of the tools to call based on the prompt that we have configured it with. So this instruction is very critical. What each of the tools are capable of doing, we got to detail it out. And also each of the tool in the specification itself has the input output defined. Like we're saying, it's exactly like we write our API spec, right? So it's got to be that detailed. So like we are saying, these are all the list of tools that it can use. And say, for instance, you're using search content as one of the tools, then the properties that it takes is a string, and it can also take an integer or things like that. So it's basically the specification details out all the different content types it can do, and so on and so forth. So for each of the tools, it has that definition. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Kind of, okay. All right.